Good afternoon. I'm Graham Clark with Argo News. We got a great show lined up for you today. We got everything from music to campus activities, and then we're going to take it downtown for other festivities. All that and more coming up on this edition of
I'm Seth Patterson.
And I'm Sarah Richards.
And this is Argo News. So Sarah, what kind of music do you listen to?
You've probably never heard of it, Seth.
Never heard of it? What is it, like gypsy jazz or something hipster like that?
Well, I am from Portland, and as a matter of fact, it is.
Well, if you really enjoy gypsy jazz, you can find it at a local record store.
You know, Seth, I haven't been to a record store in a really long time.
Well, Argo News reporter Najee Moye can fill you in.
Have you been looking for that obscure William Shatner album that no one else can find?
Used, it's classic rock. Zeppelin, Doors, Stones, Beatles, Hendrix, Pink Floyd. New, it's a little bit more diverse. It could be a Billie Holiday reissue, or a Howlin' Wolf reissue, or a Duke Ellington reissue, or it could be the latest Mumford & Sons, or the latest Beck, or the latest... I have no complaints with the record industry right now. It's not flawless, but it's working. There are a lot of good releases out there, including a lot of independent small labels like Sub Pop and Merge, Matador, Third Man, that put out a lot of great records. So the music industry isn't just Warner Brothers and Sony and Arista and BMG, these giants that put out, Lady Gaga. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. The industry is signing and promoting and marketing and getting on tour. It's definitely increasing. Vinyl sales are increasing. They were fairly small a few years ago, so I guess you could say the vinyl market had pretty much nowhere to go but up over the past few years. But yeah, I'd say the past 2-3 years have been better than the prior. That again, still it's not, I'm not fooling myself. Most people that buy music or listen to music don't come in my record store or any record store. Either they download it or they steal it, or whatever the term is. They find it free or rip it, or LimeWire or whatever, or they listen to Pandora or satellite radio or the radio.
Revolver Records has been in downtown Pensacola for the past 3 years and hopes to be continuing a tradition of enlightening Pensacola with great music. I'm Najee Moye, reporting for Argo News.
There's a lot of fun stuff to do on campus this week.
The Gay Straight Alliance here at the university is very involved with the community and the students. Here's Graham Clark with the story.
If you go to the University of West Florida and you or someone you know is gay, there's a place for you to meet.
Well, I've been involved with GSA for the past 3 years, ever since my freshman year. And this past year I served as the vice president. However, I'm no longer in that position. You would think that I would do less not being vice president, but I've actually stayed just as active, sort of doing this and that for the organization, volunteering, organizing events and things like that. It's typically a light sort of environment. You come there, you can expect to be educated on some things. You can expect to, get involved with things. We plan during our meetings, but we also have fun activities for everyone to enjoy. We do a lot of work with homeless individuals, with the less fortunate, and people who are suffering from cancer. And we work very closely with HIV Evolution. HIV doesn't just affect the LGBT community. It affects a wide variety of people. It doesn't really discriminate against, age, race, color, religion, whatever. So HIV Evolution, we've done a lot of work with them to sort of educate and support individuals who have HIV or who are in danger of having HIV. I hope we stay true to our motto, which is to advocate, educate, and support, not just for the LGBT plus community, but for anyone who's in need, for anyone who is voiceless, for anyone who has felt like they've been stepped on their entire life. We've suffered from that all throughout our lives, and it's great that we can come together and sort of be each other's support group, but also fight for a cause and, educate the world. Like, that's the most important thing to me, the fact that we're all together and just fighting and educating, and that's wonderful.
At the Gay Straight Alliance of the University of West Florida, the most important thing is acceptance. And that's a great start. I'm Graham Clark, reporting for Argo News.
Thinking of long-term career choices, reporter Rebecca Bartley has found more that interest you.
There are plenty of career options within the IT field.
So my background is in electronics. I learned systems and networks first. It turned out I had an affinity for computers and the networks that tied them together. And then just as a matter of course, continued taking classes in computer science and management, to the point where today I'm actually a certified project manager through the Project Management Institute. They have what they call a PMP, Project Management Professional certification that's sort of the industry standard for project managers. When you're managing a team of engineers, you succeed through their efforts. So rather than being able to individually contribute value to the program, my job as a project manager is to provide the environment that people need to be successful in what they do. And that includes equipment, software, morale. Sometimes it has to do with everything that people need to be successful. Engineers are typically very intelligent. They are singularly focused, and they bring all sorts of interesting human dynamics to the picture, in addition to their considerable technical skills.
Project management sounds like a great career option to me. I'm Rebecca Bartley, reporting for Argo News.
With the end of the semester near, you may be swamped with papers. Whomever wrote the scripts could probably definitely use some help on this. Reporter Joanne Broxson may have just what you need.
Are you overwhelmed by grammatical errors? UWF's Writing Lab may be just what you need.
The Writing Lab is a service of the University of West Florida that functions through the Department of English and Foreign Languages under the College of Arts and Sciences. Its purpose is to provide assistance to faculty, even students and staff, with writing skills. In any number of ways, a student can independently come in and come to any of our tutoring sessions. We call them 20-20-20 tutoring sessions. They are provided every hour, at the top of the hour every day. We're open from 10 to 5. And each session runs about an hour, close to an hour. So students can come in independently and work on tutoring skills. Students may also make appointments to come in for tutoring sessions and make appointments for paper reading sessions. We will read what can be read in 1 hour. And typically, if it's a paper, the average paper length I think is 5 pages. And if it's a paper that's not error written, it can be read in that length of time. Now, papers that are laced with all kinds of mistakes take a little bit longer. So we encourage students not to bring their rough drafts. Bring what you think you're ready to submit to your professor, and then we'll provide the second pair of eyes to go over that. And I think every writer, whether or not he or she is enrolled at UWF or anywhere else, every writer needs that second pair of eyes, and it might not necessarily be a professional editor. So I think the lab is going to be around just for that reason.
If you're interested in the Writing Lab services, just stop by UWF's Building 51 to make an appointment. I'm Joanne Broxson, reporting for Argo News.
You don't need a mountain to compete in a rock climbing competition, especially here at the University of West Florida. Argo News reporter Max Nadsity has more on the story.
Are you looking for a new sport, a way to stay in shape, and some fun? So an indoor climbing competition is kind of weird. As a climbing wall in general, we have to make pretend. The whole thing is completely not real. So what we do is all the people who work at the competition, we set up all these routes and all these problems basically for people to come in on the day of the competition and climb to accrue points. Typically you can do different formats for the competition, some of which might be the hardest climb, or how fast can you climb the climb, or just how many climbs can you do till the end of the competition within a certain period of time. So usually we'll have different categories that people can climb in, different divisions, so people of all skill levels and ages can enjoy the competition as well. My goals with the competition, and when I say my goals, it would be the Outdoor Adventures program's goals. Everyone who works here, it's all just a team effort, and we want to make sure that everyone can learn not only to climb, that's why the wall's here, but we want everyone to be able to experience just what climbing has to offer in general, how they can push themselves deeper into the sport and get what they want out of the sport. It's just as a wall, it's almost this static thing that just stays, and people come and go on a daily basis. But with an event like a competition, it gets everyone's juices flowing. It allows them to really push themselves, not only as a climber, but as a human being, which, like I said, is our goal as an OA program. The rock wall is constantly changing. We're constantly making new puzzles for climbers to come in and do. So not only do they have to come in and physically display massive amounts of strength, but they also have to use their mind, which I think embodies the principles of UWF as a whole, is broadening and expanding your mindset, making it stronger mentally, as well as building yourself physically.
If you're looking to test your rock climbing skills or learn some new ones, then the rock climbing competition at the University of West Florida Rock Wall might just be what you're looking for. I'm Max Nadsity, reporting for Argo News.
Fraternities and sororities at UWF take pride in tremendous philanthropic efforts. Kappa Sigma fraternity recently held their first
What do you
ever
think of when you think of
Philanthropy Week.
Margaritaville?
Reporter Lauren Tannenbaum has more on My Lost Shaker of Salt.
What do you think of when you think of Margaritaville?
All right, so Margaritaville Week is my fraternity, Kappa Sigma's. Basically, it's a week of fun to get all the Greeks involved, and it's also a way for us to choose our sweetheart. So the idea for Margaritaville actually came from, I believe, Jimmy Buffett, because he's actually a Kappa Sigma, he's a brother. The first event is basically like a card tagging event, which the contestants from each sorority kind of get the card tag in a way, and then they have to tag their sorority with I love Kappa Sig or I love Margaritaville to get the word out. Tuesday we have a volleyball event, and we kind of slum it down to whoever wins basically. So all 5 sororities play to the death basically. Then Wednesday night we have trivia, which is it's just basically general questions about our fraternity, and whether they get those answers right or wrong is how they'll get through those rounds. And then we also have I do believe that Thursday is a sandcastle contest, and that's where sororities along with a team that they get together, they make a sandcastle the best way they can, creatively, with no strings attached, and it has to have a flag on top. All the money that we raise this week actually goes to the Wounded Warriors Project, and that is where the Brothers of Kappa Sigma help out those who have been injured in combat, veterans, and brothers and Wounded Warriors work together, so for a greater cause.
With the help of all the participants, Kappa Sigma is sure to have a great philanthropy week. I'm Lauren Tannenbaum, reporting for Argo News.
If you're looking for a new race to train for, there's one coming up right around the corner. Here's Bradley Letourneau with more.
Whether you're running for the cause or running for fun, you should come out to Kappa Delta's first annual Shamrock 5K.
Being that we live in a really active area, being that we live on the beach here in beautiful Pensacola, Florida, we decided to have a 5K down on the beach, hoping that it would attract locals and non-locals and all the students and anyone else who's willing to participate. Kappa Delta, my chapter, Theta Epsilon really wants to have a great turnout at our first event, and the more people, the more proceeds that we'll be making to go towards our great philanthropies. Our local one is the Gulf Coast Kids House, and our national one is Prevent Child Abuse America. The Shamrock event only costs $16 to enter the race and to get a shirt afterwards. 80% of the proceeds are going to go to the Gulf Coast Kids House, which is our local philanthropy, and the 20% that's left is going to our national philanthropy, which is Prevent Child Abuse America. The race is going to be held down in front of Crabs on Pensacola Beach, and it's going to loop around Fort Pickens and come all the way back around and end up at Crabs again. We chose to have it down at the beach because who doesn't love the beach? And when it's sunny out, it's the best place to be and to have good vibes and a good time. As a chapter, each sister likes to have 5 hours of community service individually, but together this Shamrock event is just going to be our first big event at the UWF campus and for Pensacola in general, and we hope to have a great turnout and raise a lot of money for Prevent Child Abuse America and the Gulf Coast Kids House.
So if you have an extra $16 and you want to run in the 5K, make sure to go out to the beach on March 22nd and run in the Kappa Delta Shamrock 5K. I'm Bradley Letourneau reporting for Argo News.
Taking fourth place in a national competition that included Penn State and Texas Tech, reporter Daniel Lynham has more on the logistics team.
You've heard it in the UPS commercials, but what exactly is logistics?
Most of the team members that come back have job offers either before they graduate or very shortly after they graduate. We send a group of students to Denver, Colorado each year to compete in a competition that's called Operation Stimulus, which is put on by a transportation club in Denver, a professional transportation club in Denver. What they do is they are a group of practitioners, professionals in the field that get together once a year to have a professional conference. And during that conference, our students meet other students from logistics and supply chain management programs across the country, and they compete on a real-world business case, and the managers that come for that conference, they judge the competition of the students. I look at logistics as it is the operations, that's the management of motor carriers to move freight across the country, railroad carriers to move even different kinds of freight across the country, air freight carriers to move freight that is very time sensitive, and then ocean freight carriers which move the largest majority of our freight internationally across borders. And so it's really the movement, the storage, the accountability of the inventory that's in motion from raw materials through the manufacturing process and storing it and delivering it as finished goods. So you've got teamwork skills, you have process skills. You have to know terminology in logistics. Logistics is not something that you can just jump into the business without having some of the definitions and terms and concepts well understood. So if you have those things and you can work well with others, then you would be a good team member.
Students who join the UWF logistics team have an opportunity to practice essential skills as well as network with individuals in the field. I'm Daniel Lynham reporting for Argo News.
Ever wondered what life might be like in ancient Rome? Reporter James Miles may have an answer.
On March 20th, UWF's anthropology and history departments are giving students a look into ancient Roman life.
Well, what we decided, Dr. Kilgrove and I decided that we would do something to bring ancient Rome to the UWF community. We're the only two on campus who teach anything connected with ancient Rome, and so, and Dr. Kilgrove's research is actually dealing with late imperial burials. So we wanted to showcase this because it's a very popular topic, wouldn't you say, to our students?
Definitely, definitely. A lot of my students have become interested in ancient Rome when I talk about my own research, and to that end, I've started a chapter of the Archaeological Institute of America here in the Gulf Coast, which is very exciting, and that's mostly focused on Mediterranean archaeology.
We look at things from a different, I'm looking at history primarily through texts, through the study of texts, and Dr. Kilgrove looks at it primarily through the study of artifacts, the physical evidence, right, the archaeological remains. And so my view has always been that when you look at all forms of evidence, you get a much more complete picture. Okay, many historians want to just focus on text, and they don't think you're really doing history unless you're just looking at the text. But I think that's just part of the picture. And so with the two of us coming at this from different perspectives, I think it gives a much fuller and richer picture of what their daily lives were like, what their society and their culture was like.
Yeah, the best class I had as an undergraduate, I was a Latin major and a classical archaeology major, was a team-taught course by somebody who did the philology, did the language, and somebody who did the archaeology, and it really encapsulated the Roman world for me a lot better than any individual class with an individual professor could.
But ancient Roman life was so much like today, and I think that's one of the reasons why both of us have studied that ancient medieval world, because their lives were so much like ours in so many ways, but yet they were so different.
As the old saying goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. I'm James Miles reporting for Argo News.
They've won 2 national championships and are without a doubt hard workers. Come out and see them. Here's Argo News reporter Jenna Alami.
Do you have school spirit? Come out and wear blue and green. If you're confused, you'll see what I mean.
UWF has a rich tradition in tennis, and it's worldwide. The name, University of West Florida is known around the world. Our first goal, of course, as a team is to win the Gulf South Conference, and we're working towards that, and then make it to regionals, and then hopefully do well in regionals and get through that and go to the national title. So that's where we set our goals to do well, and we've been fortunate to have done well on the national level. I think this team has that special something that you need to win a national title. They're first of all a family. Both the men's and women's team really get along well together. They fight for each other, and that's kind of what it takes. You've got a bunch of individual matches out there, and you've got to be fighting for something greater than your single match in order to achieve that goal. So I think this team has it. Being said, there's a lot of other teams out there that have really good teams as well that we have to fight against. So you have to have everything go your way to win it. But hopefully we'll be fortunate, and that'll happen for us this year. We've got the most guys we've had, 18 guys this year on the roster, and really every one of them can play well. And that kind of helps in practice. When we get going, we're playing matches against each other, we're playing doubles against each other, and they all push each other. The guys at the top don't want the guys at the bottom to come and take their spots, so they're working hard. The guys at the bottom want the spots at the top, so they're all really pushing each other. So you really need that on the team. The top of the team needs to be driven from the bottom up, and those guys are doing a tremendous job this year. Everyone's working hard. Leaders on the team, the guys that are there before, they get the guys up for the matches, tell them the importance of the matches so that we don't take opponents lightly, and we know that any team we play can legitimately beat us. So we have to be on our best, and teams are out there vying for us and trying to beat us, so it keeps us on our toes.
Come out and support UWF's tennis team. You won't regret it. May the matches begin. I'm Jenna Alami reporting for Argo News.
The Friends of West Florida Public Library and the University of Florida Center on Aging sponsored a screening of a new documentary. Reporter Sarah Richards went downtown to find out more about the film.
The 2014 Winter Olympics wrapped up last month in Sochi, Russia. But there's another type of Olympics right here in the United States you may not be aware of. Christopher Rufo, director of the award-winning documentary Age of Champions, was at the Pensacola Public Library for a screening of the feature-length film that aired on PBS last year.
I would say in making Age of Champions, it's changed my perspective on what it means to grow older. Certainly those stereotypes that many people had, including myself, really go out the window when you're working with people in their 80s, 90s, or even older than 100 that are still doing things that most people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s would have trouble doing. For example, Adolf Hoffman is an 87-year-old man. He runs a cattle ranch in Texas. He works full-time. He's also a world champion pole vaulter. So this is a guy who at age 87 has no fear in literally hurling himself over an 8-foot pole vaulting pit. So, he's jumping, he's falling, he's really, being tough on his body, but really strong. And it shows you that really no matter how old you are, what age you reach, it's really about mindset. It's about kind of your ability to challenge yourself, and if you have the kind of mindset and positive spirit that the people in the film have, you can not only surprise other people in what you can do, but I think more importantly you can surprise yourself. So you'll meet a 100-year-old tennis player right from here in Florida. You'll meet an 87-year-old pole vaulter, basketball-playing grandmothers from Louisiana, and all sorts of other amazing characters that fight all the odds, fight against some of the difficulties of growing older, really embrace passion for sports, and compete for gold. And if you watch the film, you'll see who wins, who loses, and who's the champion.
The documentary is incredibly inspiring for anyone. I know that I'll be using my gym membership a little bit more often. I'm Sarah Richards, reporting for Argo News. The University of West Florida strives to be competitive with peer institutions in areas like retention. Argo News reporter Christopher Thrasher has more information.
Retention rates at the University of West Florida could be better. The administration is taking steps to address the issue.
Some of my responsibilities, there are a number of them. However, my primary focus is to implement and develop programs and work with other faculty and staff to develop programs that help improve retention and overall 4- and 6-year graduation rates. Currently, our fall 2012 retention rate is 70%. Compared to our peer institutions, we're right in the middle of about 13 institutions. Particularly, we focus on first-time and college students because they need to get past that first year in order for them to progress on to their sophomore, junior, and senior year and ultimately graduation. We look at things like other risk factors, the probability of students re-enrolling for the following fall, which is a gauge to help us measure retention. We identify students that might be at risk through academic engagement. How comfortable are they with their study habits, and how comfortable students are becoming acclimated to the campus, how socially comfortable they are on the campus. And so all of those risk factors allow us to help identify students that might be at risk for not re-enrolling either the following semester or the following fall. And we're able to deploy resources to those students based on areas that can be identified as at-risk categories for students.
The university is developing and implementing a number of programs that will soon improve student retention. I'm Christopher Thrasher, reporting for Argo News.
And moving off campus, everyone loves dogs, especially when they put on a show. Argo News reporter Amanda Diamond has more on dog shows.
If you love dogs, the Pensacola Equestrian Center has 2 dog shows a year. Let's check them out.
Dog shows are a sport that's the second oldest sport in the United States. The Kentucky Derby is the oldest sport, or horse racing. The second oldest sport was dog shows, and that originated in New York with Madison Square Garden, Westminster Kennel Club. My last junior handler in 2013 made it to the floor of Madison Square Garden as one of the top 8 in the country. That's what this whole sport is about, bringing up the new people and getting them involved in it. American Kennel Club recognizes 7 different groups: sporting, working, hounds, terrier, toy, herding. I've lost track. But there are 7 groups. And I think right now, because they're adding so many new breeds, I don't remember how many new breeds are involved, but there's probably 138 or 39 different breeds recognized in the United States. And the whole concept behind the dog show is you go in and you show your dogs. You have what they call class dogs that they have not finished their championship. So they compete to get points to finish their championships. Once they're a champion, then you compete in what's called the breed ring, or specials. Each breed out of the 7 groups goes on that night to compete in the group. So they take the top 4 out of each group, then the number 1 dog in each group competes for best in show.
So if you love dogs, check out the dog show at the Pensacola Equestrian Center. I'm Amanda Diamond, reporting for Argo News.
What happens when historic Pensacola meets modern technology? Argo News reporter Nicole Campbell is here to tell us more.
Ever wanted to tour Pensacola in style?
We knew we were going to do segways. I have a buddy that does tours out in Hawaii, and he was over here on vacation, and he does tours by kayak, canoe, things like that. But I was telling him I needed a job like he had. It sounded like too much fun, and he said Pensacola would be really great for segways. He said he's been seeing them in a lot of historical towns, and I was like, that's perfect. So 6 months later, I started a Segway tour company. And then our most popular is the 2-hour historical Segway tour. Covers about 5 to 8 miles depending on the pace of the tour, how fast people pick up on the Segway riding and stuff. And we try to do our best to cover as much as we can of the 450 years of history. It's a comprehensive overview of the downtown area, and we try to cover as much ground as possible in a 2-hour time. With the walking pub tours, it's a historical walk, $15, and it's about a mile walk downtown. You get a historic kind of narrative of the downtown area, but we stop in 4 of the bars. You get half off drinks, and you learn a little bit of unique history about each of the bars as well. So with the $15, we start at Seville Quarter. You get a card to get back into Seville Quarter later that night for admission, so you don't have to pay admission to get back in. And then half-price drinks at Pensacola Bay Brewery, intermission, and play.
I'd say Emerald Coast Tours is on a roll. I'm Nicole Campbell reporting for Argo News.
Did you know that the Pensacola Lighthouse has been here since the 1850s and still being used regularly? Here's reporter Corinne Williams with more.
If you've never been to the Pensacola Lighthouse, it can be hauntingly intriguing.
The lighthouse is located on board Naval Air Station Pensacola. It was first built between 1856 and 1859, and they first lit the light January 1st, 1859. The lighthouse has been and still is used as an active aid to navigation. It marks the entrance to Pensacola Pass, and it's also today now a museum. The Coast Guard still maintain the light and own the property, and the Pensacola Lighthouse and Museum operates to restore the lighthouse and interpret the site. The lighthouse is currently under restoration. We were lucky enough to receive a Impact 100 grant in addition to a Viva Florida small matching grant, and we are going through about a $500,000 renovation, which will include repairing of the exterior cracks, painting of the lighthouse, and repointing of all the mortar joints. Well, there are 177 stairs to get to the top. The height changes depending on where you're going to measure from. From the top of the lightning rod to the ground, it's 171 feet. From the catwalk that you would stand on, it's 151 feet to the ground. And it's actually the tallest and highest focal plane in Florida because we sit on a 40-foot bluff, and the focal plane is 192 feet above sea level. The lighthouse actually was one of the few lighthouses that wasn't destroyed during the Civil War. It saw action here between in November of 1861. The lighthouse was bombarded. There was always a folktale that it had been hit by cannonballs. And actually in 2012, we found a stereoscopic view of the lighthouse that showed that in fact it had been hit by 6 cannonballs. There are historic accounts of ghostly encounters here at the lighthouse that were kept by descendants, lore passed down from keeper to keeper. In 2009, ghost hunters from Sci-Fi Channel came here and did a show, and their show is basically to debunk ghosts and hauntings, and they actually had some decent evidence.
If you'd like to learn more about the lighthouse, come see it at Pensacola Naval Air Station. I'm Corinne Williams reporting for Argo News.
For those of you who love art, there's a new exhibit downtown that I'm sure you haven't heard of yet. Reporter Savannah Taylor has more on the story.
The Pensacola Museum of Art had its 60th anniversary recently, but what are they doing to celebrate?
For the first time ever, really, we have our exhibition Figures to Fur in both upstairs and downstairs galleries, which is different for us, but I think really cool, especially since the collectors are local and it's a really great personal story about their collection. We were told about their wonderful collection of art, and we've actually had 2 other exhibits at the museum over the past year that incorporate some of their collection. Was Sacred Objects was the first one last fall, and the second one was the American Indian exhibition where a portion of it was part of their collection. This one is the second exhibition to feature their artwork alone. Well, there are a few exhibitions that we have every year exactly the same and exactly the same time. Youth Art Focus, the Members Show. Last year we did Winterfest, and I think we're going to do it again this year. So sometimes we have exhibitions that stay the same. And we also have at least once a year a permanent collection exhibition. The rest in our downstairs and upstairs galleries are almost always traveling exhibitions. So they'll stay in the galleries for anywhere between 6 and 8 weeks or so. We are a museum for the Pensacola community. You know, we've been here for 60 years as an art center in the old city jail, and for whatever reason over 60 years, maybe people haven't taken the time to come in here, maybe because of preconceived notions about art in general, but I hope that people come here and feel welcomed, and no matter what is on the wall, that they can have a visual experience that will leave them satisfied, excited, maybe even questioning, and to know that we do change out our exhibitions. It's not going to be the same every time you come.
So if you get to do so, come on down to the museum and check out the new exhibit today. I'm Savannah Taylor reporting for Argo News.
And now here's Graham with the weather.
Well, it's not the weather, but things are heating up. Seth Patterson has more on a group that's sparking up a lot of talk in Pensacola.
Watch out, because these flow toys are just warming up.
Up in Flames Entertainment is a group of fire performers. So we started here in Pensacola, but now we spread to 5 different states. It was about 2 years ago I got hurt in the military. I was in a training accident where I fell 30 feet, broke both my back and both my arms. While going through physical therapy, my therapist recommended juggling to help with hand-eye coordination. And as I started exploring juggling, I learned about more of these flow arts, like the poi, which is mainly for hand-eye coordination, that helped me regain strength and actually lead into this job. It started just as me as a solo act, and then over the past year and a half, it has blossomed into 42 performers in 5 states. Up in Flames Entertainment performs at different events, doing fire shows and LED shows. What we do is we take props such as staffs, poi, or hoops, add fire to it, and then dance with it. What else we do is the same thing with lights, where we take the LED, different lights, and we attach them to the same props, and then we'll dance with those, mainly for indoor shows or music concerts. There's a lot of different events that we put on and perform at. We do weekly spin jams where it's open to the public. Anyone can come out and watch us practice or learn for free. We also do practices regularly where it's just we come out, just our group, to learn routines and practice for upcoming gigs. A lot of different gigs that we do around here in Pensacola is like the Pensacola Civic Center. When shows come to that, like the Monster Truck Show, we can perform we've been the opening act for that. One of the big gigs we have coming up is starting April 3rd, the minor league baseball team in Pensacola, the Blue Wahoos. We're going to be performing from 5 to 6 as their opening act every home game this season. And we're also going to have a booth set up where you can come and learn more about us and talk to us. And if you bring your kids, we can teach them with practice props what we do. You can find out more stuff about us through our website at www.upinflames.us, because Go America. And you can also find out more on our Facebook, Up in Flames Entertainment, and that will come up.
If you feel the flow in yourself, be sure to check out Up in Flames online and on their Facebook to find out where their next hoop jam is going to be and for their upcoming events. And that's the way the fire poi spins. This is Seth Patterson reporting for Argo News. Man, this anchoring stuff is really hard. I sure could use a vacation.
You know, Seth, I could too. And with all the lovely weather we've been having, I think it's time to get outside. Argo News reporter Shannon Hemmings has more on the story.
Are you ready for some adventure?
We're a year-round wilderness resort. Basically, you're looking at quality outdoor experience in a wholesome environment, and we are doing a little bit of everything. Zip lining has now come to Adventures Unlimited in 2010 and has been a hot commodity. People are coming out all the time, whether it be summer or winter, fall, it does not matter. You come out, you meet us, you get introduced to the equipment, we take you to flight school so that you learn the technique and the basis of what you'll be doing up high in the sky. And then off to the races like a herd of geese flying through the sky itself. River has been the backbone of Adventures Unlimited. We do tubing, canoeing, kayaking, and paddleboarding now. We take you on an array of different lengths of trips, 11, 7, or 4, and we also have overnights that range from 15, 24 to 36 miles. We have a new addition to our grounds. It's called the Lorax Loft, and it is beautiful, right on Coldwater Creek. It is very remote, so you actually have to hike into this cabin, and then it's exclusively for you, the couple. It is only meant for 2. We always have a push during spring break, and since we're open every day, people can come and do almost any activity they want to any day. Call for reservations when you look at ziplining, but as far as the river goes, come one, come all. Accommodations, that probably should be done on a reservation also. We have a great time. Our staff is wonderful. We're looking at having a great time and helping you attain the same goal.
With spring break and summer right around the corner, this is a great spot for Adventures Unlimited. I'm Shannon Hemmings reporting for Argo News.
From all of us here at Argo News, thank you for watching. And in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.